Hello, 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 hello.
Hello, hello, check. One, two, three. Hello.
वो हेल्थ टॉनिक है।
educational programs, Sharda University is also home to a world-class multi-speciality hospital and research facility.
मोहाली चंडीगढ़।
अभी वहाँ पर ठंड है काफी ज्यादा ना, मोहाली वगैरह में तो मेरे क्या।
मोहाली इज क्वाइट फॉगी एरिया, ठंड है।
क्या हुआ? अगर फोल्डर में 5 वीडियो कंपाइल कर दीजिए ना। एडिट छोड़िए कुछ, हाँ ठीक है। 5 नहीं, बस 2 वीडियो।
अरे रहने दीजिए ना।
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me a great pleasure to extend to you all a warm welcome in the inaugural function of International Conference on Advances in Agricultural and Food Sciences to Face the Challenges to Environment and Biosecurity, organized by School of Agricultural Sciences, Sharda University, in collaboration with National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India, Dhanuka Agritech Private Limited, India, Harry Butler Institute, Murdoch University, Western Australia. This session is being attended by the delegates via Zoom and is also being live streamed on the university's YouTube channel. Light is a symbol of brightness and prosperity. To make this morning a blessed one, let's invoke Goddess Saraswati by kindling the lamp of knowledge and wisdom. I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, respective deans of various schools, distinguished professors, chairman and organizing committee, secretary of the conference to accompany our guests to light the lamp. Sir, please.
He Sharde, 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 हमको प्रगति के द्वार दे, अभिनव गति के द्वार दे। हे शारदे, हे शारदे, हे शारदे, हे शारदे। फिर आज तेरे लोक में दीपक जला है ज्ञान का, अनबुझ नवोन नव ज्ञान का, ज्ञान का हम खोल दे सारी दिशाएं, द्वार नवल प्रकाश के, ऐसा हमारे देश को अविराम तू संचार दे। सर्व विद्या चल रही आलोक के विस्तार में, समान को गतिमान करके सृजन के व्यवहार में कल्याण सर्व समाज का सामर्थ्य अपनी भी बढ़े संकल्प निष्ठा शक्ति दे सबको अडग आधार दे अब हर प्रबंधन से सहज शाश्वत सजग समुदाय हो वाणिज्य या अभियांत्रिकी या चिकित्सा संकाय हो फिर से बने भारत जगत गुरु ज्ञान नवाचार से सबके हृदय को भव्यतम संकल्प के उद्गार दे ज्यों कल्प वृक्षों के तले प्रणयुक्त इच्छाएं पले अभिनव वसंतों को लिए नव
I request our respected dignitaries onto the dais, please. Thank you. I invite our respected dignitaries onto the dais, please. But Padma Shri, Dr. V.P. Singh, Professor Akesh K Khandal, sir, please. I welcome you to the dais. Dr. Ichis Gupta, sir, please. Professor Sibaram Khara, our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Professor H.S. Gaur, Dean School of Agricultural Sciences. Professor Salim Siddiqui, Organizing Secretary of the conference. I welcome you all onto the dais. Thank you. I now invite our students, Kaim Ashera, Rimi Mandal, Shreya Shri Das, and Hiba Asha to welcome our excellencies with rosebuds and indoor flowering plant as a token of our affection and reverence. Please. चलो चलो Yes, sir. Thank you. I request Professor V.P. Arora sir and Joshi sir to please join for the picture. Rana sir, Dolly ma'am, please. Chaudhary sir. Thank you, everyone. A true welcome is never complete without warm words and warmer gestures. I would now invite Professor Ichis Gupta, Chairman, Organizing Committee, and Dean, School of Agricultural Sciences, for welcome address and briefing about the conference.
Good morning. Esteemed patrons, Shri P. K. Gupta ji, Chancellor Sharda University, Shri Y. K. Gupta ji, Pro-Chancellor Sharda University, Shri Prashant Gupta, Executive Director Sharda University, the Chief Guest, Padma Bhushan Professor Rambadan Singh ji, former Chairman ASRB and Director ICR IERI and Member Farmers Commission, Guests of Honor, Professor Ichis Gupta ji, former Director General Borlaug Institute of South Asia and Director ICR IERI, Professor R. K. Khandal ji, former Professor and Vice Chancellor of Abdul Kalam Technology University, UP, and Chairman Polyglycol, Professor A.K. Srivastav, Member ASRB and former Director ICR and DRI, Padam Shri Dr. Brahm Singh ji, the father of Sebak Thorn Farming and Chairman of the Dr. Brahm Singh Foundation for Protected Horticulture, and Padam Shri Dr. Vijaypal Singh ji, former Principal Scientist and Program Leader of Rice Breeding at ICR IRI, the developer of world's longest elongating high-quality, most exported basmati rice, Pusa 1121, and later versions of it. The chairman of the function, Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Shivaram Khara. Our collaborators, Professor Simon McCurdy, Director, Harry Butler Institute, Murdoch University, Australia. Major General M.K. Bindal, Executive Director of the National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India. Shri Kamal Kumar ji, Principal Advisor, Dhanuka Agritech Limited. Co-Chairman, Professor Shashi Bhushan Sharma ji, Organizing Secretary, Professor Salim Siddiqui, Professor VPS Arora, and all members of the national and international organizing committees. I welcome all of you to this Sharda University, Greater Noida, the national capital region of India, and to this 5-day mega event, the International Conference on Advances in Agricultural and Food Sciences to face the challenges to environment and biosecurity. The Sharda University, Greater Noida, established in 2009, is a young but very fast growing and dynamic multi-faculty university with over 800 faculty members and 13,000 students, including 3,000 from 85 other countries. The university has 14 schools, including all branches of learning, except perhaps veterinary sciences. We have medical, dental, nursing, pharmacy, and allied health sciences, engineering and technology, architecture, design, films, entertainment and media, law, humanities, and social sciences, education, etc. The School of Agricultural Sciences is the latest addition, the 14th school, established recently. Okay. This school is presently organizing a 4-year professional BSc Honours Agriculture program, a 5-year BSc Honours Agriculture and MBA Agribusiness integrated program, 1-year PG Diploma. यहाँ से क्यों कर रहे हो इसको यार? वहीं से होना चाहिए, यहाँ से क्यों कर रहे हो? We also have a PG diploma of 1 year in plant protection and a PhD program in different specialties of agricultural sciences. The Sharda University has its own 900-bedded hospital and a mobile diagnostic facilities. Sharda University Uzbekistan and Sharda University Agra have been established very recently. A new state-of-the-art 1,200-bedded cancer specialty hospital is under construction. Esteemed dignitaries and delegates, we humans have come a long way since the advent of agriculture and have made unbelievable progress, especially during the past couple of centuries. We have produced more food, more fiber, fuel, and many other commodities, developed over many new production, protection, and processing technologies, modified genetic makeup of plants and animals, killed and even eliminated many other creatures that we thought are competing with us for the same necessary needs. This remarkable progress is unfortunately accompanied by widespread and ongoing destruction through overexploitation of natural resources and pollution of various kinds that are impacting on the climate of this planet and accentuating the natural as well as anthropogenic disasters. Consequently, land and water resources needed to produce more food are overstretched. Freshwater and marine food stocks are also challenged as land-based food systems, production systems. Hunger epidemic is still widespread, with about 2 million food insecure, 2 billion food insecure people starving and suffering from malnutrition. In about 80 years from now, at the end of this century, there will be 5 billion additional mouths to feed. And humans do not practice agriculture only for food. There are many other necessities met from agriculture, such as fiber, fuel, medicine, and raw materials for the industry, and much of the oxygen. Agri-processing and food science and technologies are playing important roles of extending shelf life, value addition, reducing spoilage of food produced, and so on. But many of these processing and packaging technologies have been associated with hazards to health and environment too. Making plans for and arrangements to provide safe and nutritious food to all should be the #1 and most important global priority of this century. It will not be just a simple matter of opening more land, growing more crops, and breeding more livestock. Deserts are expanding, and new pests are emerging and spreading, unfortunately, thereby putting more pressure on food production systems also. The recent locust swarms, rust diseases, various viruses affecting crops, livestock, and even humans, and even the current pandemic of COVID-19 are serious biosecurity threats. Besides pollution of soil, water, and air, accumulation of non-biodegradable waste, the imminent fallouts of global climate change, often attributed partly to modern agriculture, directly put the human race in danger. These matters are relevant to all nations of the world, more so to the underdeveloped and developing countries who are economically and technologically weaker comparatively to manage such risks. Science must provide solutions to such problems, designs products, develop safer technologies before it is too late. We in this conference want to look forward with strength and optimism and explore how will globalization, information technology, artificial intelligence, new theoretical approaches, biotechnology, nanotechnology, pharmacy, biosecurity, and interdisciplinary interactions shape agricultural and food technologies of the future. We are grateful to the overwhelming response of the large number of participants from around the globe, from Australia to Europe to Africa to US, to Canada, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Iran, and so many other countries, and of course, all parts of India. We could not accommodate all the entries that we received. There will be now almost 34 keynote addresses, 57 lead lectures, 83 oral research paper presentations, and around 50 poster presentations, and more are in line. We are not denying the poster presentations, we are still adding them on as the requests are coming. Most of them are of very high scientific quality and thought-provoking. I profusely thank all the contributors. Our esteemed collaborators, the National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India, Harry Butler Institute, Murdoch University, and the Dhanuka Agritech Limited, the leader of the agri-chemicals, my colleagues, Professor S.B. Sharma in Australia, Professor Deshmukh, P.S. Deshmukh in USA, Professor Richard Sikora in Germany, and Professor Salim Siddiqui here have been great source of strength and support to me in organizing this conference. There may be inconveniences and glitches due to technical and human errors. We apologize for the same in advance. I appeal to all of you to bear with us and support for a grand success of this, our joint effort, the first of this magnitude by the newly established School of Agricultural Sciences, Sharda University. My faculty, students, staff, and faculty have worked really hard over the past 6 months to make this event happen. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for your remarks. We have with us Professor S.P. Sharma, Co-Chairman, Organizing Committee, ex-professor in chair, Biosecurity and Food Security, Murdoch University, Western Australia. He is connected to us via Zoom. Please confirm his presence to me. We would be hearing him on the screen. Professor S.B. Sharma. Yes, sir, he is there. I'm waiting for him to be on the screen. Okay. I welcome you, sir. Am I audible to you, sir? Okay. I request the technical team to please unmute, sir. He is unmuted. Technical team to please see. All the other participants on the Zoom can hear him, as I can see in the chat.
At least I can.
All can.
Yes, ma'am. So let him go ahead.
I think if you'll ask me, I'll continue.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you for joining.
Okay. Respected Chief Guest of the function, Professor R.B. Singh ji, guests of honors, professors, staff, and students at the Sharda University, and above all, more than 1,000 conference participants from over 25 countries. Greetings from Australia. I'm joining the conference from Perth in Western Australia. The current time here is after 1 p.m. It is 1 p.m. It is summertime here. The temperature outside is about 28 degrees. The international relevance and importance of this conference is self-evident, as Professor Gore explained. Wide participation from different and diverse parts of the world is a clear indicator of the international relevance of the conference. The theme of the conference has global significance. The title itself has at least 5 keywords: agriculture, food, science, environment, and biosecurity. Of these, science is an enabler, and food and agriculture have a cause and effect relationship with environment and biosecurity. As Professor Gore indicated, during the last century, we have made outstanding progress in the area of food and agriculture, and enhanced our capacity to be able to feed over 6 billion people of the 7 billion people. Some of us, when we look back, in the early part of the last century, we were struggling to feed 2 billion people. And then we fed about 4.4 more billion people. This is an outstanding feat, but still it is an unfinished business, as we have 1 billion more people to feed, and this number is increasing. During the last century, we had a green revolution. In this century also, we need a green revolution, but we can't afford the green revolution of the 20th century. This is because our present day food and agriculture rank among top 10 threats to the health of the environment and the planet. Furthermore, globalization of food and agriculture products and associated enhanced movement of people and goods have significantly enhanced our exposure to biosecurity risks and pandemic situations. This state of affairs is neither sustainable nor acceptable. We will have to think of new ways of how we can achieve a fundamental change in how we can produce food, safeguard it from loss, and provide it without damaging the natural environment, without exposing the health of the people and safety risks. We must create a planet-friendly green revolution in this century. We will need to make significant advances worldwide in agriculture and food sciences to ensure that we minimize the threat posed to the environment, biosecurity, and planetary health. This conference is a small step in this direction. Before I conclude, I would also urge all session conveners who may be attending today to make recommendations keeping in view the international perspective of the conference and the international perspective that contribute to 2 key goals that we would like to achieve in early to mid part of this century. That is, we have a planet-friendly green revolution and a global biosecurity plan. In the conclusion, I would let us all look forward to an outstanding and exciting conference over the next 5 days. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have with us excellencies from our conference collaborators. They're connected to us via Zoom. Dr. Simon McCurdy has extensive experience covering corporate leadership, research management, policy development, and management of biosecurity operations within the government and private sectors. He heads Harry Butler Institute, Murdoch University, Western Australia. I invite you, sir, for your remarks, please.
Thank you. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, you can hear you.
H. So firstly, I'd just like to provide greetings again from Perth, Western Australia. On behalf of Murdoch University, I'd like to thank Professor Gore and his organising committee for inviting Murdoch University to contribute to this conference. As Professor Sharma just told you, this is an extremely important topic for the globe. The challenges we face to agriculture and the nexus between agriculture and the environment are going to be critical for us in being able to provide the food reserves that are critical for us as humans. Murdoch University has a three-pronged research program. We focus extensively on health, food, and the environment. But importantly, it's a linkage between all three of those. We cannot have healthy people without healthy food, and we cannot have healthy food without a healthy environment. So it's critical that we are focused on how all three of those link closely together. The topics across this conference for the next 5 days, I think, provide us a great opportunity to address these globally. The importance of climate change, of invasive species, biosecurity, the need to bring new technologies to play to enable us to be able to address some of these challenges. The growing development of artificial intelligence, robotics, and data management are all areas that have huge potential to change the way we produce our food and provide greater opportunities to protect our environment. So on behalf of Murdoch University, we look forward to the next 5 days. I look forward to hearing some of the exciting science that is being undertaken around the world. And I'd like to finish by just thanking Charter University for undertaking this initiative. I think it is a great initiative, being able to actually produce a conference virtually at a time when the world is facing a disease pandemic. Can have some challenges, but it's something that we must continue to do. And exchanging our thoughts and continuing to build networks to address these challenges is important. So again, I look forward to the next 5 days, and I encourage everyone to participate and listen to the exciting work that was presented through the various sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We have Shri Kamal Kumar, Advisor, Dhanuka Agritech Private Limited, India, with us via Zoom. He is a visiting faculty in some of the top business schools of the country in agriculture and holds more than 44 years of experience in sales and marketing with diverse portfolios. I invite you, sir, for your remarks, please. Shri Kamal Kumar, Advisor, Dhanuka Agritech Private Limited. Technical team to please pay attention. Shri Kamal Kumar, Advisor, Dhanuka Agritech Private Limited.
Thank you very much. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, please. Welcome, sir.
It's a great honor for us to be attending this conference, which is having participation of the great researchers, academicians, and those who have contributed for development of agriculture. The great scientist, I can see, and I pay my respect to Dr. R.B. Singh, who is here, and his presence is a source of inspiration for many of us. And when I see that in the foreword, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, the father of Indian agriculture, has given the foreword, we feel honored to having sponsored such a conference, which is on deliberations on advances of agriculture and food sciences. Agriculture has a very immense potential and future both for our country, and so the government of India has also realized this and paid special attention to agriculture, which is contributing hardly around 15 to 16% of the GDP, wherein the potential is very, very high. We at Dhanuka Agritech Limited, in crop protection business, we have a significant presence all over the country, right from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, almost in all crop segments that we are working on. And our endeavor is to see and ensure that the technology in crop protection is brought to our country. The research of which, the molecular research is being carried out elsewhere in many other parts of the country. And we have collaborated with 6 Japanese companies, American companies. In the year 1992, we brought and collaborated with DuPont in India. And now we are actively working with Nissan. Our effort is to see that the Indian agriculture prosper, the Indian farmer prosper, the possible losses due to pest and diseases because of which is colossal now. It was 90,000 crores, but now estimated to be around 5 lakh crores. We all are working for the prosperity of the farmers and doubling farm income, which is the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister by the year 2022. And also India achieving $5 trillion economy. I think we all work together in the field of agriculture to ensure that this dream comes true. And once again, thanks to Sharda University for having organized such a 5 days diversified subject, all focused on agriculture. And I'm really proud that we are one of the partners in promoting the modern agriculture in India and world over for the welfare of the humanity and for food sustainability in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your remarks. We now have with us Major General Manoj Kumar Bindal, Executive Director, National Institute of Disaster Management, Government of India. During his more than 3 decades of service, he has held important command and staff assignments. He has also been Director, Center for United Nations Peacekeeping, New Delhi. I request you, sir, for your remarks, please.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, absolutely. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. First of all, I welcome all the participants who have joined, and Jai Hind to all the dignitaries who are on the dais and many dignitaries who are on Zoom right now, who have not been able to come physically to the venue. It's a great honor for National Institute of Disaster Management to be connected with this international conference on advances in agricultural and food sciences to face the challenges to environment and biosecurity. It is a need of the hour, and a very aptly chosen theme has been taken up by Sharda University School of Agricultural Sciences. And I really commend Professor H.S. Gore for inviting NIDM to be partner in this major initiative. This topic per se requires a lot of deliberations, because we know that global food security is one of the most pressing issues for humanity, and agricultural production is critical for achieving this. Over the past century, enormous progress has been achieved worldwide in improving human welfare. Societies have changed radically through quantum leaps in technology, rapid urbanization, and innovations in production systems. However, billions of people still face pervasive poverty, gross inequalities, joblessness, environmental degradation, disease, and deprivation, and many people are still starving to death. The poorest people in the community are affected by food insecurity and disasters, and hence there is a need to be prepared as well be in a position to manage disasters. Poor access to reliable and timely market information for the farmers, absence of supply and demand forecasting, poorly structured and inefficient supply chains, inadequate cold storage facilities and shortage of proper food processing units, large intermediation between the farmers and the consumers are some of the major causes for the losses. So in addition to these challenges, climate change is one of the major concerns. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, report states that the evidence for climate change is univocal, with evidence over the last 100 years of a 0.8 per degree centigrade rise in global temperatures and a 22 centimeter rise in sea level. Depending on how much we control the future greenhouse gas emissions, the global mean surface temperature could rise between 2.8 degrees centigrades to 5.4 degrees centigrades by the end of the 21st century. In addition, the global sea level could rise by 52 centimeters to 98 centimeters. And there will be significant changes in weather patterns with more extreme climates. So vast seasonal variations in climate is resulting in frequent droughts and floods. India's agriculture is totally dependent on natural weather and climate. Hence, the impact of this environmental issue will be very high. In order to cope up with the situation, agriculture needs to adopt certain practices which will reduce the impact of climate change on agriculture. Many agricultural practices, both traditional as well as scientific innovations, can be used to reduce the emission of greenhouse gases, thus reducing the impact of global warming on climate change. In order to provide sufficient food for the growing population, agriculture should focus on more production on the same area of land. By 2030, rice yields should rise by about 30% from the same area of arable land to guarantee food security in the world. So besides increasing production of food crop, one needs to care for climate change and its effects on the environment and the agriculture aspects. Agriculture needs to adopt certain practices which can cope up with the effects of climate change and withstand the shortcomings from the climate change. The development of climate smart solutions, including digital farming and improved plant breeding technologies, will help reduce agriculture's impact on climate change in the future. Some of the many existing practices that are making a positive impact are reducing tillage, increasing efficiency of resources, optimizing nutrients, helping farmers manage changes in weather, carbon sequestration, etc. So climate smart agriculture can be emphasized as one of the solutions in adopting strategies to challenge climate change effects on agriculture. Climate smart agriculture is an approach that helps to guide actions needed to transform and reorient agricultural systems to effectively support development and ensure food security in a changing climate. National Institute of Disaster Management is also working towards climate and disaster resilient agriculture. To mention, we have recently prepared the National Agricultural Disaster Management Plan for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers' Welfare. NIDM has also published a policy paper on roadmap of resilient agriculture. And now we are in the process of preparing a handbook for district administration on disaster risk management in agricultural sector and a training module on climate and disaster resilient agricultural management. So I'm very happy that this conference will be covering various topics related to advances in agricultural production systems, pests and disease forecasting and management systems, managing disasters and global biosecurity risks, etc. So I'm also very happy to learn that there is a numerous number of scientific and research papers which will be presented by agricultural experts and scholars. And I'm looking forward to the excellent outcomes from this conference, which will find their way into various policy initiatives by the government in future. So I wish everyone a very fruitful and a successful conference ahead. I once again thank Sharda University for collaborating with NIDM on such an important venture. Thank you, and over to you.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a great honor to have with us today our guest of honor, Padma Shri Dr. V.P. Singh, Principal Scientist cum Program Leader for Rice, Division of Genetics, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi. He developed Pusa Basmati 1121. This is the longest elongation variety as per Limca Book of World Records. Most of the basmati rice exported from India is this variety, earning India over rupees 3,400 crores in foreign exchange annually. 34,000 crores in foreign exchange annually. I request you, sir, to please come on the podium for your remarks. Welcome, sir.
Respected Dr. R.B. Singh, Padam Shri, Padam Vibhushan, today's chief guest, Professor H.S. God, Professor H.S. Gupta, and the dignitaries on the dais, and the audience around the world. See, when you see this conference, the way it has been organized, 5 days, 5 themes, with more than 100 speakers and covering a wide range of topics. You think of any topic related to agriculture, food security, food safety, it is covered. Just, as an example, think of a topic, prebiotic carbohydrates, impact beyond gastrointestinal tract. 2, use of CRISPR technology in developing new varieties and its use in pharmaceuticals. Say, thinking of the time, because we started a bit late, keeping in mind this time, I congratulate the Sarda University, the organizing team, the way it has been, and we wish that after the deliberations, we will come with a lot of very innovative recommendations which will make the policy base for the years to come. Once again, thank you very much for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to the Sarda University staff, the Chancellor, the Provice Chancellor, the professors, and the faculty, and everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Padma Shri Dr. Brahma Singh, our guest of honor, is connected to us via Zoom. He is former Director, Horticulture, DRDO, and Chairman, Dr. Brahma Singh Foundation. He is known for his expertise on protected cultivation and his efforts in developing agro-technologies for the high-altitude areas of Himalayan regions of Leh and Nubra. It's an honor to have you with us today. Welcome, sir. I invite you for your remarks, please.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Absolutely, sir.
Honorable Professor R.B. Singh, the chief guest, and Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor of Sarda University, dignitaries supposed to be on the dash, number of them, and of the dash, such as Dr. V.P.S. Arora, Dr. Bhuvnesh Kumar, Dr. M.C. Pandey, the co-organizers from India and Australia. Dear students of the university, media, other support service personals to the conference. With belated New Year and couple of Indian festival greetings, I express my gratitude to authorities of Sarda University and organizers of this international event for providing me an opportunity to participate in the conference and contribute during COVID-19 pandemic. I congratulate patrons, chairmen and members of steering committee, international advisory committee, organizing committee, coordinators and others associated with this mega event to see it getting going extraordinarily. I am particularly thankful to Dr. H.S. Gore, Dean, Schools of Basic Sciences and Research and Agricultural Sciences. I congratulate him profusely for playing key role in organizing such a mega event without any confusion and uncertainty. I wish an exemplary conduct of the event directed towards discussion on advances in agricultural and food sciences to face the challenges to environment and biosecurity with important 5 themes narrated by Professor H.S. Gore a little while ago to cover the entire gamut of agriculture and food science to face the challenges to environment and biosecurity. My personal assessment on above is that as a result of advancement in agriculture and food sciences as well as technology, there is enough sustainable supply and systems for food, fiber, feed, fodder to meet the present and future requirement of bulging life or human and animal population on planet Earth. What is lacking? It is accessibility and affordability to food, fodder, fiber and feed, which needs to be addressed to improve upon. Without addressing it, the objective of having healthy and prosperous life on the Earth planet and in future other planet too, with enhanced productivity through the use of science and technology, more quality produced from less and cheaper inputs, biofortified crops or otherwise fortified foods, etc. would remain unfulfilled. Hence, according to me, agricultural and food sciences advancement demands advancement in social sciences simultaneously. In other words, how to improve purchasing power or income or profit in agriculture of one and all is the issue. Hope it is addressed during this conference or later. The major theme of the conference, the challenges to environment and biosecurity. These challenges are many, but according to me, the major one, and which I think the organizers also have realized, are number one, climate change. Climate change directly influences agriculture and food and production, including value addition, handling, storage, and accessibility. Another challenge is, as spoken by the other speakers, is availability of arable land, which is shrinking due to developmental activities and rapid urbanization. But these developments to me are essential for overall advancement of human race. To cope up with these conditions, major emphasis is required in investment on research, development and education in emerging agricultural and food science and technologies. These are soilless farming, urban farming, vertical farming, value addition and space farming. And these farmings are to be promoted using modern day technologies like sensors, artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, robotics, blockchain, drone and others. Friends, I congratulate the team Souvenir and Abstract to bring out perfect and beautiful compilation, worth referring on important issues of the conference. Professor Brahm Singh Foundation, BSHF, Delhi, is disseminating details of these technologies through 2 weekly free webinars every Wednesday and Saturday at 6 p.m. You are all welcome to attend these. Fully aware of the time allotted to me, the mere 5 minutes. Now I stop and wish this mega conference a great success. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. It's a privilege to have with us Professor Akesh K Khandal, former Vice-Chancellor, APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University. He's known for his conversion of ideas from lab to commercial scale. He's well known for his expertise in various branches of chemical sciences. Sir is already here, so I welcome you for the speech.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. I must to begin with, thank you very much. I must to begin with congratulate the Chancellor of the University, Professor P.K. Gupta ji, the Pro-Chancellor, Y.K. Gupta ji, and the Executive Director and the governing board member and Vice-Chancellor of Sharda University, Kazakhstan, Shri Prashant Gupta ji. I must thank them for inviting me to this wonderful conference. What a wonderful auditorium, Hall A. Those who are seeing it on Zoom, I don't know whether they are able to see this auditorium. It's a world-class auditorium. And to sit here and be online with you all across the world, it's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I'm really grateful to the organizers for inviting me. The Honorable Vice-Chancellor sitting in the chair, thank you very much, Professor Khara. A great team you are leading, and the Agriculture Department is doing wonderful job under Professor Gaur. He is an eminent personality, and people can learn from him how to organize during this period when everything is online and opening to become offline. He is mixing them too, and he is uniting people from all over the world on the topic of agriculture. Thank you, Professor Gaur. Your speech was really wonderful. I must really say thanks to Professor R.B. Singh, who is actually mentoring it, and who is actually the chief guest of this inaugural session. Professor Sharma, Professor McAdee from Australia, thank you very much. India is doing good there in cricket there. And I think the match is stopped for some time due to rain. Hopefully India wins there. Professor McAdee, your statements were very, very correct about agriculture. Thank you very much. Professor Kamal Kumar ji, Professor Bindal, who spoke so much about the challenges that agriculture is facing today. Professor Brahm Singh, wonderful, you are heading a foundation and you are doing so good for agriculture. Professor VP Singh, Honorable Professor Srivastava, who is going to speak after me, Professor Ichis Gupta, Professor R.B. Singh, Professor Khara, and Professor Siddiqui. Thank you very much. I have only 2-3 points to say about agriculture. Number one, this conference is very well organized. The themes are very well elaborate, and it's really topical and really comprehensive. The first point I want to make is that in the year 2017, FAO came out with a report. And that report says that the world is going to be facing 3 basic problems. The first problem is population is ever increasing. True. Every country is trying to become industrialized, and with that, urbanization is a trend. So this is point number one. That results into less land available for agriculture, and more people are being produced every year. So population, urbanization, industrialization, putting pressure on available land. So less land and more food is required. So this is challenge number one. Challenge number two, interrelated with this and connected to wastage of agriculture, wastage of agri products. So much of waste is there which is beyond our control. In India itself, 30% of our crops is getting waste because we are not able to process. Similarly, all over the world, waste is an issue. So, connected to this is again a pressure on agriculture. We are not able to feed all the people with quality food. So that means the malnourishment. And the third thing is, because of our desire to grow more food, the deforestation is happening. And that is resulting into climate change and global warming. So these three issues, the food security, malnutrition, climate change, out of this increase in population, which we are not stopping, this is a big issue. And FAO in 2017 said that we have to take measures by which we can make sustainable food available for all in the world in times to come. And they made a target for international community. They said by the year 2030, make sure that everybody gets the food of quality. In India, we have a Prime Minister who is visionary himself. The moment he saw this report, he constituted a committee and he said, look for ways how to achieve this. And visionary role he played at the international level, and people in Australia and across the world are listening to me. He is the first leader in the world. He said 2018 would be declared as the national year in India for millets. And he said, if we want to make sure that everybody gets proper food, we deal with climate change and global warming and do sustainable agriculture. Unless we do smart agriculture, we won't be able to succeed. And at the same time, he approached FAO that for God's sake declare 2023 as the International Year of Millets. And would you believe it? Go to FAO website and see there, they acknowledge the role played by our Prime Minister Modi ji. They have mentioned it there that FAO is pleased and FAO is honored and FAO is so inspired and motivated by the actions that the Indian government has taken. What Indian government took action beside declaring it National Year of Millets? They also increased the MSP of millets by 50%. And focus in all the research institute, agriculture institutes by Government of India is that ask farmers to grow millets. And our Prime Minister himself declared that don't treat millets as the food for the poor. In fact, it's the food for the rich and food for those who are needy and would be starving for it in times to come. So 2023 has become the International Year of Millets. Then, by this time, we are in 2020, we have had COVID, and we are entering into 2021. 2020, again FAO came out with a report which says catastrophe, which says disaster. And disaster is that almost everywhere across the world we have problem of food, rising prices, food not available. First time, India has exported this year, just last month, exported rice to Vietnam and to China. During this period when we were busy banning the apps of China, China was busy importing rice from India. And I think the maximum amount of rice that we have exported in the Southeast Asia, especially in ASEAN countries. You know, Vietnam and Thailand, they are the biggest competitor of Indian rice, especially the basmati rice. Because the Thai rice smells as good as basmati rice and differently and maybe tastes differently, which many people like actually basmati rice in the West as well as in the East. And Vietnam has become our customer. What I'm trying to say this is that India, our forefathers, taught us Uttam Kheti, Madhyam Vyapar, and Nimn Chakri. We all are employees. No matter you are professor, no matter you are dean, you are vice chancellor, you are director, ultimately you are an employee. An employee is considered to be the worst thing for a man as far as our forefathers are concerned. They said the Uttam Krishi. Today morning I was talking to my daughter from States and I said, what do I speak? I have to speak. Professor Gaur has invited me to speak about agriculture conference. She said, what do I tell you? You did not expose, she says, me and my brother, you did not expose us to agriculture. Can you believe a person who is sitting before you is the one who himself has done agriculture with his own hands. And I'm so pleased, and I must compliment the Chancellor of this university that they have a wonderful agriculture sciences department headed by none other than Professor Gaur himself. Let me tell you, all our children, all youth of India, if we really want to capitalize the youth manpower, we are supposed to show them what agriculture is. Every university should have agriculture. Every university should have a Gaushala. Unless a farmer is the one who enjoys gobar. Can you believe it? I was expert, when I was a child, I was expert in collecting gobar with my own hands and making upla. Upla is the best bioenergy source. Today in the world, the whole world is, thanks to COVID, is talking about getting into renewable energy. The biggest renewable energy our forefathers invented is gobar. And we have ridiculed, we have denigrated that concept of making upla. You go across the country, which part of the country you go, upla is the best product that we have in the rural areas. Let me tell you, natural gas cannot save us. It's only the upla technology which will save us. I am so happy today that India has introduced the first paint in the world which is gobar based. And the plant has come up in Rajasthan, in Jaipur, and it is commissioned just 2 days ago by the minister, Mr. Nitin Gadkari. Do you know how much urea we import? Why do we have to import urea? If every household in the villages has at least 5 cows, we don't have to import urea. It's a burden on climate change. Let us have our own agriculture which is organic. I'm happy all the 5 themes have been chosen. I'm taking too much of time, but I thought I must impress upon these points. Unless each and every, you may be doing engineering fine, but at least spend 2 hours in the agriculture field. In Sharda University, I tell all the universities, you should have enough trees so that your students coming in your university should be able to eat seasonal fruits without paying anything. When it's a time for guava, you should have enough guava so that each student eat guava every day. When it is a satut period, you should have satut, jamun. And India is a country where everything grows. You don't have to do anything. You just eat the fruit, put the seed in the ground, and you will have a tree coming up. I have demonstrated it here in Greater Noida. When I shifted in Greater Noida 5 years ago, I planted several satut tree. I planted several, jamun tree. All of them are giving amla tree. This year, we harvested almost about 200 kg amla in my own small park of 500 meters. Can you imagine? We have to teach our children rearing of cows. What we have started developing is keeping dogs in the houses. Dogs are non-vegetarian. Their ecosystem is different from the humans. Our forefathers said, if you want to keep pet, keep an elephant. Elephant is the best pet. If you can't keep elephant, keep horse. Horse is another very good pet. If you can't keep horse, keep a donkey. It's a very good pet. If you can't do that, keep goat, keep cow, keep buffalo. These are the pets you should keep in the house, not the cat and the dogs. Okay? So let's go to the culture, which is agriculture. And agriculture in India is called Krishi. And those who do Krishi are called Krishak, Kisan. Madam is keen that I should stop. Okay? And Kisan, those who are doing today the demonstration, they are not the Kisan. They have a political agenda. A Kisan is the one who loves gobar. Okay? मैंने बचपन में इतने उपले बनाए हैं, Professor God. I was expert of making upla. हम लोगों का competition होता था कितने जल्दी आप उपले बनाएंगे. And then when I did, one of my students, I gave him the assignment कि plastic के उपले बनाओ. Because plastic waste is the biggest problem. So one day, when Sheila Dikshit ji को हमने invite किया, और यमुना जी के किनारे हमने plastic के उपले से उनको चाय पिलाई, यमुना cleaning में. How? Because in the villages, you have plastic, you make that into small pieces, grind the plastic, and along with upla, instead of using the agri waste, you use that. Now, last point I want to tell, to make agriculture sustainable, you must really take out the agriculture products and convert them into big chemicals. We have a ministry called Chemicals and Petrochemicals. I am a strong believer that if India has to become #1 in the world, we have to have renewable chemicals. And why I am saying this is because today I am the president R&D and business development of a company which is manufacturing chemicals from molasses. For the last 30 years, only company in the world. I think none of you may be knowing it, and that's why I am telling you this. And how they are making the agriculture sustainable? Because sugarcane growers, they give their sugarcane to the sugar industry. Sugar industry produces sugar, but at the same time also ends up producing molasses. Molasses is an environmental hazard. If you can convert this molasses into useful chemicals, it's a wonderful thing. And that's what India Glycols is doing. I think you must today see the website of India Glycols. Now, why I'm saying this is, when you have all surfactants coming from this, you don't have to use surfactants. Unilever, not Hindustan Lever, their father company, Unilever, has taken a decision that by the year 2030, they will not be making detergents, cosmetic products, home care products based on petroleum route. They would be making it from purple carbon. Purple carbon is the one when you absorb CO2, convert it into alcohol and convert that into chemical. Today, Reliance has gone into petrol to chemical. It's a time when we talk about every chemical coming from agriculture. हमारे forefathers ने हमको आयुर्वेद सिखा दिया. हमें पता है कि कढ़ी में मेथी का छौंक लगेगा, जीरे का नहीं लगेगा. वो हमारे forefathers ने सिखा दिया. धनिये की चटनी, आम का अचार, हींग डाल के, ये सब चीजें उन्होंने सिखा दी. सब एग्रीकल्चर ओरिएंटेड थी. And we knew it. And we are, whatever we eat, we are supposed to ask first question to ourselves. Do we know how it has come, where it has come from, how it is produced? Do we have that knowledge? Teach that and give that knowledge to your engineers, to your technologists, to those fellows who don't study science and engineering. In India, 70% of the courses are meant for non-science. Change it with the new education policy. आप इतने बड़े-बड़े दिग्गज बैठे हैं, बड़े-बड़े लोगों से मिलते रहते होंगे आप, प्राइम मिनिस्टर, मिनिस्टर से, हमारी बात भी पहुंचा दीजिएगा कि इस कंट्री में जब प्राइम मिनिस्टर जाके गुजरात में इतना बड़ा फार्म बनाता है सोलर के लिए, एक ऐसा फार्म बनाए गांव-गांव में, ऐसा फार्म बनाए कि हर गांव में गोबर का प्रोडक्शन इतना हो कि हमें यूरिया की आवश्यकता ना पड़े. आज फार्मर लाइन में लगा हुआ है यूरिया के लिए, यूरिया नहीं मिलता. यूरिया की आवश्यकता ही नहीं. आपके घर में गाय हैं, भैंसे हैं, गाय भैंस रखता नहीं और फिर सुसाइड करता है. फिर कहते हैं जी किसान सुसाइड कर रहे हैं. वो किसान क्या जो सुसाइड के तो उत्तम कृषि, मध्यम व्यापार, निम्न चाकरी. With these words, thank you very much. Thank you, Professor Arora. Thanks you all in Hall A and thanks you all online. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your thought-provoking talk and your encouragement to the youth to explore agricultural sciences as a career and entrepreneurship option. Thank you, sir. I deem it a privilege to welcome Professor Akesh K, Member, Agricultural Scientist Recruitment Board, New Delhi, as our guest of honor. He is a distinguished animal and veterinary scientist, former director, ICAR, National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal. He is a distinguished fellow of National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, National Academy of Veterinary Sciences, and many more. He is a recipient of several awards and honors. He is connected to us via Zoom. Sir, I welcome you and request you to give your remarks, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good morning. Thank you very much. Honorable Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, Dean of this distinguished university, Professor R.B. Singh, Chief Guest of this conference, my very senior colleague and guest of honor, Dr. Ichis Gupta, Dr. Khandal, Dr. Brahma Singh, Dr. V.P. Singh, and above, Dr. H.S. Gaur, my senior colleague, for giving me this opportunity. I consider it an honor for me. I was interested to come personally in the hall, but I returned from on the way because it was heavy fog and traffic jam, and I found that I will not be able to reach there. So I returned back and joined you through Zoom. Well, friends, it is a very good topic, and it is a need of the day on which we are meeting for 5 days. My heartiest congratulations to Dr. H.S. Gaur and all university authority and Vice Chancellor and Chancellor, Pro-Chancellor. Before me, many speakers have spoken about the importance of the theme and what we should do. Although I have a structured presentation tomorrow to talk about the livestock sector, dairy sector, their contribution and their challenges which we have to address in dairy sector especially. Few points are I will say that our advances should address the problem which we are facing in agricultural food production system. Land size is decreasing. By 2050, we have calculated that per capita land availability would be 0.09 hectare. So we have to think that which type of food production system we should go so that we can feed one animal or one person with 0.09 hectare land. Despite our all effort, we did not make much progress in increasing the irrigated area. Still more than 50% are rain-fed in our production system. Although we reclaimed the saline water, but if we talk about the acidic water, 23 to 24 million hectares still remain to be reclaimed. Our input use efficiency is decreasing. We have to address that issues. Water table is going down and down. We have to address that issues. Our 50% of soil microbiota is not working at present as far as their physiology is concerned. So these are the issues which we have to address in future if we make advancement for agricultural food production system. One thing here I would like to say that along with Green Revolution, I have spoken several times before Dr. R.B. Singh, along with Green Revolution, White Revolution also came simultaneously, but it was less talked, it was less glamorized, it was less noticed. But to the time is that along with food security, nutritional security has to be addressed. And I'm sure that Professor R.B. Singh will address this one. And for nutrition security, it is the livestock sector, it is the dairy sector which is going to address. Absolutely. With all advancement which we have done, absolutely, we should feel glorified that we were country from ship to mouth, and now from ship to mouth, not it is only sufficient, but we are surplus. But let us see the preference of the consumers. Now preference of the consumers are changing. They are spending less money on cereals. They are spending more and more money on livestock protein, maybe milk, maybe meat, maybe eggs, spending more money on horticultural produce, fruits and vegetables. So we have to plan our research objectives in such direction. As far as livestock and dairy sector is concerned, I would like to address that, yes, we brought the crossbreeding program to enhance the milk production in the country. Now we are at #1 in the world in the milk production for the last 2 decades. This year we produced 188 million ton of the milk and at #1. But during this crossbreeding process, we lost our many good genetic resources of cattle and buffalo. #1, crossbred animal after 3 lactation are coming on the road. So this is the biggest environmental challenge which we have to address, that in what way the dairy sector should go so that milk production is also achieved and animals are also properly utilized. Last point, along with our science, along with our research, along with our innovation, communication with consumers, with stakeholders are most important if we really want to address the food and nutritional security. I will take one example. We developed the technology of fortification of iodine in salt. Tata came out with the product, iodized salt, we all know, but we did not communicate the consumers that what is the best way to consume the iodized salt. We put our iodized salt in dal and sabji. Within 5 minutes, this iodine gets oxidized and evaporated. Iodized salt was made as a dining table salt. If we are consuming a raw salt, all iodine is bioavailable for the body. Or if we are putting in our food, dal and vegetables, then kindly cover for 5-7 minutes so that iodine is not evaporated. If we would have communicated along with science, along with product to the consumers, to the stakeholders, believe me, we would have not taken 40 years to eradicate the goiter, the iodine deficiency. Although we do not get much clinical cases of goiter, but still in seashore area, there is a problem of iodine deficiency. Second point, food-borne zoonotic diseases has to be addressed. One word, one health approach has to be applied. Transboundary diseases which are coming from other countries to the India and affecting the population has to be addressed. Maybe bird flu, maybe swine flu. It must be addressed at a proper platform so that along with food security, good health, nutrition security is also achieved. Environmental pollution, antimicrobial resistance is getting importance day by day. Because most of us are agricultural scientists, I will raise one issue. For antimicrobial resistance, how we are responsible. Streptocycline is a mixture of two antibiotics, streptomycin and tetracycline. And these both antibiotics, streptomycin and tetracycline, are used in human treatment to save the humans for life-threatening diseases. And this streptocycline is being used on horticultural crops, on vegetables, especially in fruits. And before 5 days, 3 days of harvesting. It has to be addressed properly. And sir, most catastrophic, if you see, the streptocycline has been enlisted in the list of fungicide. And that too, with least toxic. If we really say that environmental challenges, environmental pollution and all these things, all these issues, streptocycline must be used very judiciously, or it should be totally banned for its, I made great survey on this one. I talked to the Hindustan Antibiotics Limited, which is producing this streptocycline. They say that we are producing as antibiotics. I do not know that how it has been enlisted as fungicide, and that too with least toxic. All these issues has to be addressed, sir. Foodborne zoonotic diseases, now science has acknowledged globally that tuberculosis in human being is caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis, but 28% tuberculosis in human being is not because of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, but because of Mycobacterium bovis, which is tuberculous organism of the bovines, of cattle and buffalo. So how to consume the milk products, that is also way to go and communicate to the consumers. My years with Sarda University doing very well because Dr. H.S. Gore is a good friend of mine. We always communicate, we always talk on this one. My years will be that yes, along with agriculture, dairy sector must go along. You know, more than 30% GDP in agricultural sector is coming from the dairy sector. And we invest only 1%, not even 1% of the agricultural GDP on the dairy sector. Can we have one dairy science college which does not require to keep the animal, it does not require to keep the fodder farm, but it requires the technological development of the dairy going and communicating to the farmers, consumers, that what is the best way to consume this one. Sir, last example I give you that when I was director of National Dairy Research Institute, we went to the villages and we communicate two things, that never consume raw milk. Because, Jaundice disease, which is because of Mycobacterium paratuberculosis in animal, are causing the Crohn disease in human being. Number one. Number two, before boiling, before eating the eggs, kindly wash it thoroughly, boil it properly, only then consumes, and Staphylococcus, E. coli, and all infection has reduced drastically in the area. So such things are my message is that yes, good technology, good education, good products, along with these communication with the farmers so that best results we can get, it should continue. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I'm looking forward for 5 days for listening this thoughtful lectures from many speakers. Thank you very much. And Jai Hind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. It is a privilege to have...
Over to you.
Thank you. It's a privilege to have Dr. Ichis Gupta, former Director General, Borlaug Institute for South Asia and Director, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, New Delhi, as a guest of honor with us today. He is highly recognized for his outstanding research contributions in the field of plant breeding and genetics. He is a recipient of a number of awards and honors fellow of reputed societies like Indian Society of Genetics and Plant Breeding, Indian Society of Agricultural Engineering, to name a few. So please come over to the podium for your remarks, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Manzoor, for your kind words. Honorable Chief Guest of this inaugural function, Padma Bhushan Professor R.B. Singh Ji, distinguished chair of this inaugural function, Professor Khara, Professor R.K. Khandal, former Vice Chancellor, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Technical University, Lucknow, Padma Shri Dr. VP Singh, who has been a colleague of mine for quite some time, distinguished dignitaries online, collaborators from Australia and India, Professor Gaur, Chair of the Organizing Committee, Dr. Salim Siddiqui, Organizing Secretary, dear delegates, students, ladies and gentlemen. I deem it a privilege to be a part of this conference. All of us know that agriculture was the first occupation of the man. Almost 10,000 years has passed. We have been practicing agriculture, and agriculture was the first occupation of the man. We also know that we have made a tremendous progress from hunting and gathering our food to settled agriculture, organized agriculture, automation, everything, all sorts of things. And what has been done during last 10,000 years, that the most remarkable thing, we have been feeding ever-increasing population. That's the remarkable accomplishment. Presently, if we see, and this has been happening despite the dwindling natural resources, substantial post-harvest losses, as one of the previous speakers said, in India we lose annual loss, post-harvest loss is 5 lakh crore rupees. That's the estimated loss. And the most important is climate change. So despite all these factors, increasing population, substantial post-harvest losses, and climate change, we have been successfully feeding the world. And today, we produce enough to feed the world. But unfortunately, 1/7 out of 7 people in the world, 1 person goes hungry, despite so much of production. So I think when we address food system, I'm sure we will be addressing that uneven distribution of food. Not only production is not only required, but even distribution of the food is also required. If we see what is the big question today, the big question today is, can we feed the world in 2050 and beyond? So far we have been successful, increasing population, and we have been feeding. But by 2050, we are going to be around 9.7 billion. Today we are 7.8. We are going to add 2 more billion people by 2050. So can we feed these 9.7 billion people in 2050? And another figure, if you see, by 2100, we are going to be 15 billion population. So 9.7 billion in 2050, 15 billion in 2100. That's the big challenge, and that's a big question before all of us. Let's consider 2050's case and let's see whether we can feed the world. Now, if you see the data says that we need to produce 60% more food grains to feed 9.7 billion people. Now, for producing this, we need around 500 million hectare, 500 plus million hectare. That comes to around 500 million hectare of land. And that would be around 2 times of India's cultivated land. Can we afford to bring so much of land under agriculture? Professor Khandal was telling about we are bringing the forest under agriculture. So obviously we can't do that. We can't bring this much of land under agriculture. If we can't do, then what do we have to do so that we can keep on feeding? And that would be develop and deploy breakthrough technology that can feed the world without destroying it. The technology is available, and whatever is available, we should be able to use it so that we can have a quantum jump in per unit area and time, in per unit productivity of area and per unit of time. Well, researchers all around the world have been working on it, and there are 5 course menus suggested to sustainably feed the world. And those 5 course menu I would like to share with you in brief. Number 1 is reduce growth in demand for food and other agricultural products. And the various items, 3-4 items under this would be reduce food loss and waste. Around 30% of food which we are producing gets lost. Therefore, we need to reduce it. Number 2 is shift to healthier and more sustainable diets. Less consumption of meat, less consumption of beef, because they are more resource intensive. I'm sure most of you know that we need 55,000 liters of water to produce 1 kg of beef. 2,500 to 3,000 liters of water to produce 1 kg of rice. So 1 kg of rice from 3,000 liters, 55,000 liters for producing 1 kg of beef. And if you see wheat, that needs around 1,000 liters or so. So there is huge difference. If we really want to feed the world in 2050 and 2100, we will have to reduce the animal product. Then second course is increase livestock and pasture productivity. Increase the productivity of livestock and pasture. Dr. Srivastava was telling that India is the largest producer of milk. For last 2 decades, we have done a wonderful job. But when we see per unit production of milk, that is one of the lowest in the world. So what we need to increase the productivity of the livestock and pasture, improve crop breeding and boost yield. Then the third one is improve soil and water management. We all know that nature takes 10,000 years to generate 1 inch, top 1 inch of soil. And unless we check the degeneration and degradation of soil, we will not have enough fertile soil to produce crops. Then comes increased cropping intensity. Instead of 2 crops, grow 3 crops, 4 crops a year. And the last one is adapt to climate change. Climate change has become a reality, and it is coming much more faster than what we imagined. Therefore, we have to adopt, our agriculture has to adapt to climate change. Course 3 is a protect and restore natural ecosystem and limit agricultural land shifting. And in this, the actionable points are link productivity gains to production of natural ecosystem, reforest abandoned, unproductive and liberated agricultural lands, and conserve and restore peatlands. The fourth course is increased fish supply. We have really not been able to exploit ocean around us for food production. Therefore, aquaculture has to be encouraged, all investment has to be made, and we need to have more wild fisheries. Get fishes from wild rather than only captured fisheries. So increase the fish production and improve productivity and environmental performance of aquaculture. The last one course is reduce greenhouse gas emission from agricultural production. So these 5 course menu, if we follow, there are chances that we will be able to feed the world not only in 2050, but even beyond that. Friends, the silver lining is that we can feed the world. The technology is available with us. We will be able to feed the world if we follow those 5 course menu and various items. But government needs to take action to ensure everyone gets equal opportunity to get food. The distribution, today also we are producing enough, but still around 900 million people go hungry. And that is because uneven distribution of food. Therefore, government has to make a policy decision, so the governments around the world have to take a policy decision so that there is a even distribution of the food. At the end, I would like to say that we need to promote plant-based food production and consumption rather than livestock-based food production and consumption. And in this way, I find that India has been very fortunate on a couple of counts. Number one is, majority of our people are vegetarian. Only a minority of people are, meat eaters. So that's a blessing in disguise. Number two, we rear dairy cattle for milk. That's a good thing. We don't rear them for a meat. Therefore, they are not a burden on the ecosystem. Dr. Professor Khandal was telling about cow dung, gobar. What is happening, we have been applying chemical fertilizers, but what is required is a balanced use of fertilizer. You have to use manure produced from cow dung in combination with chemical fertilizer. If you use only chemical fertilizer, then it will not be that beneficial as it would have been in combination with the manure. So the dairy cattle, the cow dung produced, should be preferably utilized for manure production, not for anything else. No. Well, friends, I think before I close, I would like to remind you that Indian agriculture has been very successful one. During last 50 years, now we have become the largest producer of milk. We are the largest producer of pulses and many fruits. We are the second largest producer of wheat, of rice, of vegetables, of fruits, many other commodities. Yeah, of course, yeah. Also, I would like to remind you that India has become a largest exporter of rice. Thailand used to be a largest exporter of rice. But India, 2 years back, India took over Thailand, and India is the largest exporter of rice. Credit goes to Dr. VP Singh, who has bred long grain rice, which is basmati rice. So I think the credit goes to the such dedicated scientists who have contributed to our crop improvement programs. So with these few words, I thank the organizers for having invited me, and I would like to compliment Professor Gaur for having organized this 5-day session, and I'm sure during the next 5 days you will be able to prepare a roadmap so that we are able to feed the world safe food, adequate food, and evenly distributed food. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for addressing the challenges of achieving food security and constraints faced and giving us a positive outlook and options to face it and overcome it. I now cordially and respectfully welcome our chief guest, Padma Bhushan Professor R.B. Singh, former Chairman, Agricultural Scientist Recruitment Board and Member Farmers Commission, to deliver the inaugural address. He possesses a career of leadership in improving agrarian livelihood, food, nutrition, and ecological security, in cutting-edge research in technology development, in higher education and human resource development. He has made important and original contributions in the field of genetics, plant breeding, and biotechnology. Sir is connected to us via Zoom. I welcome you, sir. I request you to please enlighten the audience with your precious address. Thank you.
Am I audible to you now?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Let me begin by saying that how delighted am I to be joining this wonderful mega event. I would like to recognize Honorable Sri Gupta ji, Chancellor of the University, Honorable Sri K Gupta, the chair of this session, Professor Sibaram Khara, Professor Gaur, Professor S.P. Sharma, the chair and the co-chairs of this conference, Professor Gupta, Ichis Gupta, Dr. Akesh Srivastava, Professor Khandal, Padma Shri Dr. Brahma Singh, Padma Shri Dr. V.P. Singh, Dr. Simon McCarthy, Sri Khandal Kumar, Major General Bindal, Professor Salim Siddiqui, other dignitaries, distinguished participants, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. I must congratulate the university, Sharda University, the Honorable Chancellor and the Honorable Chancellor and Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the Dean of the school, particularly Dr. Gaur, the chair of the organizing committee, and of course the co-chair of the organizing committee, Shashi Sharma, for their admirable efforts, outstanding effort on a highly topical and timely subject. The collaborators who are mentioned there, who have been mentioned earlier, also deserve our great appreciation for having supported this great event. My gratitude to the university and to organizers for giving me this opportunity and honor and privilege to really talk to you, and not only talk to you, but to learn from many of the people who have just spoken, the outstanding colleagues who have just spoken. And of course, during the 5-day course, I hope I could join in some of those deliberations and learn more and more from this event. The conference, through its 5 symposium themes, I may be not counting correct, but probably around more than 20 or 22 sub-themes, will be deliberating the various issues, challenges, and their solutions under the 5 days, during the 5 days that we have with us. Under the kind of situation we are facing today, the COVID-19 pandemic, superimposed by the mutating forms, and the bird flu, as you all know, is there. These hard times have really underscored the centrality of interdependence of agriculture, food, nutrition, health for one world. This is, I think, the underlying message that we can take from this hard time, that we have to see that we have one health, one world through agriculture-based nutrition and nutrition. The multidisciplinarity, the internationality, the local being global, and the relationship between the local and global. If you are vocal for local, you are equally vocal for global. But these are the new things which are really obvious, and with this spirit when we are meeting here, this meeting is particularly important. This day also coincides, as you probably know, that our Honorable Prime Minister will be inaugurating the vaccination against COVID-19 today here in India. And he has also promised that this support can be extended to any other needy country which will be demanding this. Thus, here is humanization of innovation. The total world must be looking towards this kind of thinking, that science, through its disruptive innovations, must be able to serve the humanity as a whole. The whole is the concept today. Disintegration has no place, and the world should be adopting this approach to be truly one world where no one goes hungry, where no one is able to be deprived of the basic needs of a human being. This conference, emphasizing one health, one world, also reminds us to honor what we call more from less for more, MLM. The value chain approach of reaching from plow to plate, complete elimination of waste, that is, you must save and grow. You must be able to protect your crops and animals from diseases and the various biotic, abiotic stresses, means protect and thrive. Also recognize that unsafe food, as mentioned by many colleagues, is no food. And therefore be careful that food that we consume is safe by all imaginations and standards. And remember that saying of Hippocrates 2,400 years ago, let thy food be thy medicine, and let thy medicine be thy food. This highlights the importance of functional foods, and probably we should be able to interlink and synergize the total agriculture and the whole system with this proper understanding. We must also be able to recognize the role that this university is playing by taking up to such a big challenge for discussion. So I would like to especially congratulate and express my gratitude to the Chancellor, Professor P.K. Gupta, for his very visionary outlook and the actions, hopefully, which will be recommended by this conference. He would be able to contribute to the implementation of those actions. Those not merely remain recommendations on papers. Hopefully, he would be able to take real actions to convert into more food, more nutrition, more happiness and healthiness. We will also be reminded that nutraceuticals or functional foods are needed to boost our immunity and biotic stress tolerance. including, as you know, the many of the epidemics that we are seeing happening one after the other. And we should also recognize that in the farm to fork food chain, the entire science of food and technology, which is related with that, plays a very important role, and it's a very vital interface between the plow and the plate. Therefore, a great attention this conference will be paying to food processing industry's role, how science should be able to serve this system, and India, how we should be able to really suppress, decrease, minimize, if we can alleviate, make zero waste that we often notice. If 30% is wasted, we can imagine if 30% is saved, we can more than feed one or two other countries than India. Therefore, I would say that the subject that has been chosen for this, there are tremendous prospects of our interlinking the food processing industry, the science behind the process, the technology, the employment possibility, the entrepreneurial developments, the infrastructures which are related with this. So the science and the service through the technology to serve through the best of the nutrition possible, stopping the wastage through promoting the best of the functional food development and distribution. Ladies and gentlemen, I would also like to remind you, and Mr. Chairman, sir, let us recognize that global agriculture and food systems are experiencing today phenomenal changes due to technological revolution, including digital revolution, sprawling urbanization, accelerated growth in middle income groups. So the food demands and the quality of food and preferences are changing. The market oscillations due to various pressures and functions. And above all, due to climate change and environmental degradation, these facts have to be internalized as we move forward. These changes offer unique challenges and opportunities to transform agriculture and the food system. It's not agriculture. And if Professor Srivastava says dairy is a part of agriculture, and agriculture comprehensively includes dairy, horticulture, microbial production. All those are parts of, in a comprehensive sense of agriculture, with the definition as given by FAO. We should adopt it and all work together in a synergistic manner so that the entire process becomes not only productive, but it is more pro-health, economically remunerative, socially equitable and inclusive, and environmentally sustainable. This has to be undertaken, and globally this has to be followed. But dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, India, given its size and diversity, and also the kind of rich heritage which have been described by some of the colleagues, reflects the global situation in many ways. I find it that if India does well in many of these things, we will find that the world statistics in terms of the numbers that we often see of hungry or poor or deprived and so on and so forth will change. The world will change if India changes the way that we anticipate and hope to have it change. The many of the asymmetries that India faces, if we are able to rule it out, probably the world, if follows that kind of a thing, we will have a different kind of world today. So, realizing that it is mostly India, I will be talking about, that if we can see the Indian experience properly understood, I think we'll be understanding the world situation fairly well. My purpose will be also to connect you with some of those experiences that India faces with the world experience, and see how we all can truly think of globally and for the humanity at large. And that should be the approach we should take today. We all know that in India during the last 55 years or so, because of the Green Revolution process, we have been able to really come up to be the second largest agrarian economy in the whole world. The kind of increase in production which has taken place in food grains, in the various commodities and so on and so forth is remarkable. The 4 to 10-fold increase in many of the commodities after the early 1950s till now. Today, India produces more than 300 million tons of food grains. We produce more than 335 million tons of horticultural fruits and vegetables. We produce nearly 200 million tons of milk, number one in the world, as a matter of fact, as mentioned earlier, and fish, around 12 million tons or so. As a matter of fact, because of this growth and with the 4% maintained in the last few years or so, we were able to see that India is able to have a stable growth of 7 to 8% economic growth, GDP growth, which was supported by agriculture in a big way. These trends had transformed the country from the ship to mouth to, as you all know, the right to food bill situation, and India is surplus. As somebody said, we are number one exporter of rice in the world today. We are number one exporter of many other commodities, and the export from India is increasing every day by 8 to 10%, 20% in some commodities. Therefore, friends, as a matter of fact, it is needless for me to assert that if COVID-19 has disrupted the economy, health and livelihood security in India and the whole world today, I think if one has to look back to what has really been the strongest point during these difficult times, I will say agriculture and the farmers behind agriculture are the bravest people who have been able to see that we do better under these stress times. And agriculture sector therefore again reestablishes itself to be the sector which must be given the highest priority in any national planning, whether it is a developed country or a developing country. Particularly those countries which are agriculturally dependent. Obviously, agriculture must be the highest priority, and we should be able to see that it is to serve the humanity at large in a much more stronger way. In India, as you all know, despite the beautiful growth that we had, still we have a long way to go. And we have to keep striving because, as you all know, that nearly 1/4 of the world's hungry and the poor, the destitutes, live in India. India is their home. As a matter of fact, nearly 1/4 of the hungry under 5 wasted children are our own children. As a matter of fact, in the recent few years, the number of wasted children in India has increased, and today we have almost 50% of the world's wasted children in India. Mind you, when we think of building new India, building prosperous India, how a strong and tall India could be built on the shoulders of stunted children, wasted children. Mind you, these wasted children cost about 6 to 10% of the national GDP, not agricultural GDP alone, but the total GDP I'm talking of the nation. So imagine what a loss. And this loss likely, as a matter of fact, in genetics, I'm a student of genetics. In genetics, there is a word called epigenetic fixation. If we go on, if the stunted start breeding stunted, if wasted start breeding wasted, you can epigenetically fix this character, and generations after generations, you will have this thing going on. We must stop it, as a matter of fact, as soon as possible, because there is no time to allow epigenetic fixation to have any stronghold anywhere in the system. My dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, let me also say the numbers which I have given you must chill our nerves. We must move from green to evergreen. We must learn our mistakes from one or the other way. We must keep on producing more and distributing better, sharing better, and increasing the accessibility to these products in the more economic way and so on, so that we all can move towards green economy. So from green revolution to evergreen revolution to evergreen economy is the way forward. It is estimated that the high number of the undernourished children and the people who are deprived of these facilities, if they continue to remain that high, it is not only unethical, but also it is inhuman, and it is against the interest of the world as a whole. The situation is further exacerbated, as you all know, by the increasing deterioration of the air, soil, and water quality and loss of biodiversity, which is a subject which will be discussed in this conference. Therefore, agricultural development does not only mean increased production, but should simultaneously address related social, economic, ecological, and environmental concerns. Probably these concerns today are much more important than what we call mere production. Another unique feature that one must keep in mind is that the overall agrarian economy in countries where agriculture is so very important has to be really given the highest importance in the national planning. World Bank has recently mentioned that the potential gains in agriculture are about 2 to 3 times much more effective in removing poverty and hunger than gains in any other sector. Therefore, I am just trying to underscore the point that agriculturally dependent nation, please give the highest priority. And very often we have noticed that agriculture sometimes I will say often is neglected and given not the due that it deserves, which I think I would like to, by giving, I don't want to give too many figures, but I do want to mention that agriculture is the solution for removal of hunger and poverty. Increasing agricultural productivity, particularly of the smallholder farmers, who constitute about 80% of the farmers of the world are smallholders. In India, about 85 to 90% of the farmers are smallholders. And if their productivity does not increase, or their intensity of production does not increase, then obviously we shall be facing this problem. And the problem of inequity will multiply, and we will not be able to smash the epigenetic fixation of undernutrition. Soon, as we all know, India will be the most populous country in the world. By 1.7 billion by 2050, we will be exceeding China's population by 400 million people. Mind you, the Chinese population is more or less stabilized, and we will keep on growing, and we will be 1.7, while China will be 1.3 billion by 2050. So you can well imagine India will have 400 million more people than from what we have today to be fed by 2050. If you look at what is the distribution of the hungry and poor, in India, we find most of the hungry and poor in the rural areas are the ones who are smallholder farmers. So therefore, those who feed us are the ones who are hungry. This challenge is, besides being unethical, this challenge is so very important that we must take it at the highest level, and therefore I feel very happy when I can see that looking at the aspirations of the millions and billions of people in this country, 1.3, 1.35 actually billion today, the Honorable Prime Minister of India said that on 15th August 2017, that India by 2020 must be able to pledge to reduce our hunger and poverty to a large extent, and must be able to move towards building new India where the farmer's income will be doubled by 22, 23, and we'll have a $5 trillion Indian economy by 2024-25. Experts opine that a real GDP growth of about 8 to 10% will be needed, and to support that growth, agriculture must grow by about 4.5 to 5% per annum. Ladies and gentlemen, the economic surveys do suggest that there is, if we follow the rules and regulations of transferring, generating the new technology appropriately, couch it in the right policy, and allow the science to serve the society, allow the new systems and policy organizations, for example, if we are able to create 10,000 FPOs, the small farmers, producer organizations, and so on, bring the digitalization and sharing the information together, we are sure that we should be able to enhance the income as the Prime Minister has desired and build the $5 trillion economy, $1 trillion economy. Thus, this conference must capture the latest frontier agrobiological scientific developments, the technological innovations and developments which must hold our future bright. The issues and challenges to be addressed must be clearly defined. The policy options and strategies should be unambiguously clear to all who follow it. Also, say that the various sessions that will be held at this conference must underpin the urgency and importance of breaking the Indian enigma and of transforming the Indian agriculture food system, not agriculture alone, agriculture food system, to be more rewarding, resilient, and responsive to free the nation of hunger, undernutrition, and abject poverty, to build an ever prosperous new India. This national development goal should be closely aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And if this has to be done, the various targets, as you all know, the 17 goals and 169 targets, the synergies among the targets and the trade-offs among the targets, the way we are able to take the science to reach the unreached should be taken note of, because some of the interactions could be negative and some of the interactions will be highly synergistic. We should be able to pick the right ones and be scientific, based on scientific evidences, move forward to serve the society through science. I am pleased that some of the sessions will be discussing some of these issues which I have just mentioned, including the innovations related to biotechnology, Before the session started, I was talking to K.C. Bansal. He says this evening he will be speaking on something related to biotechnology. Please listen to him. Nanotechnology, the precision agriculture, artificial intelligence, information and communication technology, space technology, these ought to be developed and deployed properly for the convergence and appropriate policy making to meet the challenges and the uncommon opportunities. I will appeal that why the voices and views of scientists are sometimes, I notice, are totally ignored, and at times decisions regarding policies, even the conflicts that we could see today, that the development of the vaccine. Likewise, we find that development of the several of the biotech products, the gene-edited products, which are probably harmless for anyone. As a matter of fact, because of ignorance of several people, are not able to reach the people who have to benefit from those things. So I will say that this is the time that this conference should make an appeal that we should liberate science to serve the society. Very often, the science is not liberated, not allowed to serve the society, which I think should be a strong voice against those who raise unscientific, baseless, something which has no evidence, which has no scientific reality. On those bases, they try to oppose the development process. So those people should be told that, look, that the scientifically proven technologies, genomics and others and so on and so forth, if these are there to help you, allow it to help today, because tomorrow is too late. This is why when we have facilities like cloud computing, and we have the possibilities of measuring the veritable interactions among the different targets and the pathways, we should be able to change our priorities in our educational systems to contextualize these developments in our academic curricula, to let our younger colleagues, our younger students realize that these interaction measurements with the best of the new technologies should be able to be understood clearly, so they are very clear in their mission that they are carrying the right message to the right people and leaving no one behind in survey. So please, when we talk of the inclusive development, no one in the line should be left behind. This is the way we have to proceed. Ladies and gentlemen, therefore, the decade of 2021 to 2030 must be the decade of action. We have already done too much of talking, quite a few things are already awaiting to be taken to the people who need it the most. We should have this decade as the decade of action. As a matter of fact, we should act now. We should have acted yesterday. If we act tomorrow, that will be too late. And therefore, I would strongly try to commend uniform adoption at the world level by the pathway suggested by the United Nations. As you all know, the United Nations, in its interagency task team, which you call IATT, this is the last few months in 2020, had underpinned that science, technology, and innovation must be the key means for achieving the Agenda 2030. And it must be coherently integrated with the various social, economic, environmental aspirations in the SDGs, which are known very widely all over the world today, and many countries have internalized in their national policies these SDGs. They have recommended 6 key steps. What are those 6 key steps? Is to define the objective and scope very clearly. 2, we must be able to assess the current situation based on quality data, not by hearsay. We must be able to develop vision based on science, based on realities, and set our goals and targets which will be achievable. We must be able to ensure necessary policies and regulations which will allow the science to reach the unreached. We must be able to develop detailed science, technology, and innovation for the Sustainable Development Goals roadmap, which is enunciated by United Nations. Finally, we must be able to execute, monitor, evaluate, govern, and update our plans as we go on towards meeting the targets. Very often we fail because we don't use the framework of measurements. We don't measure to manage. We must measure to manage. Unless we measure, we will not know how far we have reached in meeting our targets, and therefore it is absolutely essential that we must measure to manage. And to realize the key impacts, the stakeholder consultations will be absolutely essential. The technical and managerial expertise must be in place, and we should have a quality data system to allow the scaling up and scaling out of the technologies or innovations that we have come forward with. I know I am taking a little longer time, but I hope I am still within my time frame. I thought I would like to just by only few words try to emphasize that the United Nations is piloting this scheme, which I just mentioned of the 6 important points with the driving 3 factors in India, along with other 4 countries in the world. So it is fortunate that India is one of the countries where the transfer of science, technology, and innovation to mitigate all the socio-economic problems related with many of the factors, including the agriculture as the base. We must see that universities like Sarda University, which has a vision of that open kind, may join this initiative. I will help you to get connected with the initiative which is ongoing today in India. So if Sarda University, please remember this conference, please make recommendation towards this effect so that it could be really taken up at a larger scale with the ongoing effort in India. And this effort will be truly a global effort if we are able to come up with the right findings and right pathways. So keeping the several factors in mind, I will just mention a few heads which are absolutely necessary so that we can make the world happier than what it is today. We must make it sure that science, technology, and innovation continuum is made farmer-centric and demand-driven. In a country like India, where we have about half of the population is the farming community, and if you look at the gap in the income of a farmer versus a non-farmer, 1:4, we already live in 2 Indias. The India of farmers, the India of non-farmers. How can it be New India? And the Prime Minister doesn't want this to be like that. And therefore, please make it sure that our best of science must reach those farmers based on their demand, their requirement, their assessed requirements, so that we can make a difference in their livelihood security. This has not happened, and this is what we have to do so that the inequity is allowed to be dissipated. And as you all know, inequity is the biggest hurdle in the developmental growth. We should be able to have an extension approach which is not closed-jacketed. It should be an open approach which must be allowed through the partnership among the public and private sectors and civil societies, the initiatives of synergizing science, social responsibility with corporate social responsibility. This can allow the bridging of the gap which we very often see between the public and private sector. The agri-startups should help solve agribusiness problems, promote entrepreneurship, and provide products, services, applications, thus enhancing competitiveness in global market. Our investment in agricultural research and technology development must enhance by 3 times than what we have today. Today, we invest only 0.4% of the agricultural GDP into agricultural research and development. We have been recommended by our academy and other resources that it should be at least 1%, because in Australia, we have colleagues from Australia here, we have our friends from US also listening to us, that the investment of the agricultural GDP in agricultural research and technology development in this country is about 3% of that. In India, it is only 0.4%. In some of the states, it is less than 0.01. This is not acceptable. Likewise, if this is the situation of the investment in research and technology development, the level of investment in the extension is still low, is far lower than this. So technology doesn't work in a vacuum. We should be able to establish those kind of infrastructures, institutional reforms, generate the human resources so that we are able to see that wholesome transfer of technology because of the investments which are happening today, if it is made or is made a more wholesome transfer of technology. We must make our educational system much more professionally competitive. Fortunately, as you all know, the new education policy of the government of India has been announced. I noticed that Soviet University is already following some of those recommendations of the new education policy of the government of India, with Dr. Gaur being there, the dean who knows agriculture better than many of us, with the kind of the interaction he can be able to develop with other faculties together. I think Meru can be created by Soviet University as one of the private sector universities to take the lead. I will urge very strongly, here is an opportunity that this Congress should be able to look into the new education policy, the new agricultural education policy, and Soviet University could be put as a test case really to see how this new education policy could really be supported by a private sector university. And I think this will be a great stride in the right direction. I would also like to urge, as mentioned earlier, agriculture must be seen to be an integral part of ecological balance. As a matter of fact, the greenhouse gas emission is impacted by agriculture, and the greenhouse gas impacts the agriculture also, so the vice versa. rice cultivation with flooded rice, the huge ruminant population. You all know the greenhouse gases, and we all know the quality of air in India, particularly in cities like Delhi. Having known all these things, it is very important also burning of the stubbles left after the harvest and so on. Science can help all this to be solved. Already the Indian Institute of Agricultural Research has shown that how the biocomposting can really help into, biodigesters can help into in the process of removing this difficulty of burning these straws and so on, polluting the air and the greenhouse gas accumulation. We must be able to take these technologies to the farmers in a big way so that not only their economy, but their social living, their environment, their quality of life of living is also improved simultaneously. As I said, India's farming community is essentially a community of smallholder farmers. There are several technologies which could today be really directed that small could be really beautiful. The way we are going, today small is not beautiful. We have to make small bountiful. Through making the small bountiful, we will make beautiful, small will be beautiful, and there are ways by which it can be done. Time will not permit me, but I would like to underscore this point. Please make small bountiful.
Technical team. Okay. So the issue is from the other side, right? So with the permission of chair, shall I continue? Goksha is calling.
हेलो ना ना कुत्ता है
Sir is trying to join back. Sir is trying to join back. Please send a person with the camera, please. Camera. Sir, we'll upload on Facebook and we'll tag you. Oh, sir has joined back. Please unmute, sir. Technical team. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So I will finish by just saying that we have to harness our traditional knowledge, particularly the very rich heritage of traditional knowledge that India possesses in agriculture. A few directions have been indicated. I think we should be able to not forget the past wonderful contributions by our forefathers in field of agriculture. One thing what is happening, we must be able to respect the intellectual investments and innovations. We must be able to protect the proprietary rights so that the investments really become important, and we are able to reward the farmers also for conserving biodiversity. So because biodiversity is a major issue, India has the very first in the world to establish the what we call the protection of plant variety and farmers' rights. We are working in this direction. I think the experience of India, how to remunerate, how to pay back to the farmers for the kind of devotion the farmer has provided for conserving the wild species, the local land races and so on and so forth, which is helping today in giving new genes for genomics is very important. We should be able to, for biodiversity conservation and development, this is an important pathway. We must be able to scale out and scale up because there is a slowness, I notice, in many of these problems. So this has to happen by involving all the groups, men, women, and the children in the process. Particularly, we should be able to empower the women and be able to attract the youth in agriculture to lead the development in a most friendly, equitable manner. Finally, I would like to close by saying, because as we are facing today, the very hard, stressful time because of the unprecedented COVID-19, to overcome this, we must be able to build our agriculture, which is at the center stage of national rebuilding, little differently, to keep in mind the trinity of functions of productivity, profitability, sustainability. So all these three has to be integrated to address the large and systemic challenges. Inclusiveness and rapid conversion of knowledge into needed and commercial products will be essential. We should be ready with anticipated mutation, if possible, in COVID-19, and should have its remedy available to us. So that kind of sharpness and that kind of preparedness for developing products should be always there in a more innovative and affordable way. Promoting the policy of zero hunger, making Make in India, as the Prime Minister has said, Swasth Bharat means healthy India, One Health, Atmanirbhar Bharat, the self-dependent India, and the like, technical and financial support to strengthen the entrepreneurship, helping the startups by the Ministry of Micro and Small Medium Enterprises and so on, the interaction between the concerned ministries in a coherent manner. These are all factors which must be synergized in a positive manner, because the interactions could be both positive and negative. The negative has to be zero. These positive synergies have to be maximized. And if this kind of effort is really put to work, we can certainly build a green and strong new India. And by doing this, we can bring this experience to bear upon the global development. So, as I said, local and global will be not too much differentiated. We shall live in one happy world. Finally, I do endorse the positive note that we can feed the world comprehensively with comprehensive nutrition, alleviate poverty, which is mostly agrarian poverty, and we will be able to build a new happy world. I wish the Congress all the great success with the kind of vibrant ideas, and many of the speakers of the outstanding background will be really concluding their observations and notes, which should culminate into a proceeding, and a small proceeding may be brought out really only containing the action points. As I said, this must be 21 to 2030 must be the decade of action, and please come up with action points by this Congress. Let it be endorsed by the outstanding people who are participating in this, which could be a basis for us to go to anyone to ask for the right pathway to build the future of the country and the world as a whole. Thank you very much for the opportunity you provided to me to be with you, to learn from you, and I wish you all the best in the years to come. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your address of how pandemic is impacting global food systems, food security, hunger, and biosecurity, and how we can overcome it. Your words of wisdom and your presence are a source of encouragement for all of us. Thank you so much. The presence of our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Sibaram Khara, is a moral boost for us. His achievements are a source of motivation for us. He is a man of distinct vision. May I please invite sir for your remarks, please.
Thank you. Honorable Sri P. K. Gupta ji, Chancellor of the Sarda University, Sri Y. K. Gupta, Pro-Chancellor of Sarda University, our Chief Guest, Padma Bhushan, Professor R.B. Singh ji, Dr. Ichis Gupta, Guest of Honor, Professor R. K. Khandal Sahab, our very own energetic Guruji, and Padma Shri Dr. Brahma Singh ji, Padma Shri Dr. V.P. Singh ji, Professor A.K. Srivastav ji, Dr. Simon McCarthy, Sri R.G. Agarwal, Major General M.K. Bindal Sahab, and Organizing Committee Chairman, Professor H.S. Gaur Sahab, a very active and a very leading person, Dr. S.B. Sharma ji, co-chairperson of this conference, Professor Salim Siddiqui Sahab, Organizing Secretary of this conference. All the participants and the distinguished guests in the dais or in the podium, and those are also connected and attending it online. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very thankful to Professor Gaur Saab for organizing such a great event, the International Conference on Advances in Agriculture and Food Sciences to face the challenges to the environment and biosecurity. Already eminent speakers, and I am not by profession agriculturist, but yes, I am son of a farmer. We have seen agriculture, we have done work in the field, in the agriculture from our childhood. Although at this age we are in the teaching profession here in Greater Noida, but I am from East India, and we have seen and done every act of agriculture in the field. I will just start and very limited scope because time is already running out. We have seen one thing that during COVID-19, it has taught many things, at least many eminent speakers has emphasized. One just picture I will quote, but many of the workers were jobless, those who came from Bihar and some of the eastern states, and they were going back to their home. We have seen very pathetic scene also that thousands of kilometers they went on foot because it was not possible for anybody to help them. The situation was such, but it is not fault with anybody, but people decided to go back. This is the only reason. The only reason is that if they get back to the home, the food security. Because when they are jobless and they are the worker in the real estate, in the factory, and here, if they are the daily wager, and there the food security problem is there. And people will not believe, even some people, educated people, those who are in some profession also started thinking that it continues for a very long time. Probably I have arrangement in my village and we'll go back. And probably it is true that if such type of pandemic continues for years together and if human being cannot, for safety reasons, just cannot mingle, the only option is their agriculture. Agriculture is the least affected sector in this COVID-19. In fact, it continues as it is, and provided and produced all the crops and other these foods to the people. That's why the COVID-19 has given a lesson that amidst all our advancement, the agriculture cannot be neglected. The agriculture should be taken very seriously. As already we know that India, the basic profession and dependency only on the agriculture, from 70% to now it has reduced to at least 50% people, agro-based profession. So agriculture need to be revived. And here I will just quote few things here. Now, in my childhood, I have seen that in 1970, or even I was only say 4-year-old, I can remember few of the scenes my father was doing. First time, my father in that village cultivated the hybrid crops, the high productive paddy in 1972. I was 5 years old or 6 years old that time. The irrigation, we have seen that by hand you have to pour the water from the pond. And then over another 15 years or 10, 15 years, those practices where this boro chas, which is called in the winter season paddy, was cultivated widely. And how it impacted actually. Now, I will come to the Khandal Sahab was presenting the gobar gas and the gobar oriented all those things. It has a logic, and also we need to think very seriously. Today, same lands are there with my parents. My father is still alive, but no cultivation is done. The land is kept as it is. I am serving here. My father is getting pension. Even 5-6 years before, people used to come to our house and ask the land, okay, give us the land, we'll cultivate and we'll produce some paddy, high productive paddy, and we'll get some profits like that. But scenario has changed. So at the bottom level, we need to understand few points, because the Tagore and the Nazrul, they have rightfully told, one quote that matite jadere thekena charon tarai matir malik hon, means the people landlord, those who have not touched their feet onto the ground, they are actually the landlord and they are the owner of the field. But actually in Indian system, the agricultural system, two types of peoples are involved in the agriculture. The first type of people is that they are the owner of the land. Not necessarily the owner of the land has to physically work in the field to produce the crops. He or she can hire the manpower, labor. So labor and the owner both are involved. But in our side, in eastern India, the owner never goes to the field. It always dependent on the labor. Now this is the tremendous labor problem nowadays. That's why we don't cultivate now. Why labor problem is there? Who is responsible for that? Now come to the point. The boon is that in India, you are telling that rice, we are exporting the rice. This ability of India is also capitalized by some politicians differently. Because in eastern India, we have seen the coastal area states, the governments, before coming to power, they are promising that we'll give you almost free rice or ₹2 per kg rice if I come in power. And same thing is implemented, whether it is Tamil Nadu and now earlier it was Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, now it is in Bengal. People are getting almost sufficient rice and dals and other crops, the oils, everything free, almost negligible cost. So those people, those workers are not coming now to take the land and do the cultivation and to earn more. People are becoming lazy. This is the one point. Second point, in early 70s, in around of the 71, the Green Revolution happened, we are totally dependent on the agriculture. There are road constructions were not that much, MSME was not there, but gradually we have seen once the population increases, the road constructed, and on the side of the Ganges, the Ganga River, lot of brick fields emerged. Almost now you will see that there is no vacant place because bricks are produced, urbanization is taking place. Per day, if you work, a wager will get only 100 rupees or 200 rupees if you work in the paddy field, but he or she will earn more than 500 rupees if he works only half a day in a brick field. And there are many career options for those peoples now, for the workers. So you will not get labor. So labor problem is there, we need to think very carefully. Another problem is that the government has launched, the target plan is that 100 days work. The way it is implemented in the village, it is very pathetic. Just you enroll your name, for the sake of you just give your attendance, and without doing anything you get the wage. Why he or she will work in the paddy field? Again, that is creating a tremendous factors. It is a factors that you are not getting the labor. So now government has to think very seriously at the ground level, what is happening? Where is the labor if labor is not there? My father last week gave a rank that in our entire land, big weeds and grass are there. If you don't kill, then over the years it will be such a situation that even to make the land ready for cultivations, huge cost will be there. Of course, population is increasing. We have seen from our childhood, so from 70, when little bit I tried to understand until now, I can imagine the road from the main road to the interior village, the roadside, even a square meters place is not free because the buildings are constructed. So that is the population increases and the land encroachment, that is land is used. Now once that land is used, then environmental problem. I am not going in that, but we need to understand what is happening. One more problem is your salty land. In our childhood, I have seen, sir, the jute plant, okay, that was planted, and then once it is small, then you just hal chala dijiye, and then in the water itself, it will be decomposed, and tremendous amount of manure and fertility will be increased. You cannot have that now, because now land is to be used for again and again for productions of the crops. Although the last few years it is not happening, and that side is a very rainy area, because in the rainy season you cannot do anything except your jute and your paddy. But in winter season you can do, but in winter season again brick field will open, you will not get the labor. So people are least interested in the agriculture. Now I will come to the Khandal Sahab has spoken, no, that your Uttam Kheti and Maddam Vapar and your Nimno Nagri. That means in English, if those who are from other countries, that is my superior, the cultivation or agriculture is a moderate business, and then very low, least preference on the Nagri. It was actually, in fact, it was there that time. Where we have failed as India is that the agriculture has been taken as a profession by bound, and it is taken by only illiterate or those laborer persons. Owners were there, they are actually using those laborers to have certain gain out of these products after giving the wages and all. But now it is not happening like that. But that time it was Uttam Kheti, because Kheti was the agriculture was the main profession. We are talking about artificial intelligence and then modernizations of the agriculture. My question is that, can we modernize the agriculture in such a fashion that after graduating, the graduates, they themselves prefer the agriculture as a profession, as a modern agriculture. So for that purpose, total agricultural system is to be revamped in collaborations with the technology blended the agriculture. But that model in India still is not so visible, and why it is automations and robots and drones and AI and ICT and all we are talking about, but how it is to be implemented, a model is to be there. And then that model in flat area and terrain area, hill area, and depending on the area of geographical area and the climate condition is to be built up, so that people after doing PhD or after graduations, they will be very much attracted to take the career directly in the field, not that agro products they are taking and they are processing and they are doing certain business. I am talking about the agriculture production. So in that production, the graduate should take the option, but for that we need proper modernization. I will take quickly about the gobar, the cow dung. In our house, in 1980, we built one gobar gas plant, cow dung gas plant. And it was very much famous at that time. And in our house, 20 cows, buffaloes including, we are having that cattle. And every day our brothers and sisters used to take balti and buckets, and you take the cow dung and put into the well. And then amount of gas was produced, and we used to cook our food, and one light, one bulb used to glow. So that arrangement went for 10 years. After 10 years, now it is not there. Even if you cannot think of having the cow dung. Why it happened? Because to cultivate, to have the gosala, you need some kind of food pattern. If cultivation is not there, you don't have grass, raw grass or green grass. Grazing field is not there. And people are also not taking much interest. So you don't have cows. If you don't have cows, means where you will get cow dung? Now, if cow dung is not there, earlier the cow dung was used as a main fertilizer for the cultivation. I have seen in my childhood that we have heaps of tons of thousands of tons of cow dung, and then labor and just put it in the ground. There was no artificial manure. Now we are using DAP manure and phosphate like this. Now it is not there. Even last 6 months before, I contacted one lady, one cow dung is there, but it's a heavy cost. You cannot put that also. So you can have artificially some of the plant for that, gosala type of thing, but each and every house or persons now they are losing interest. They are not having such cattle in their house. SR was telling instead of dog, but we are now interested in dog. Because in flat we can keep it very fashionable also. But to keep the cows and all those useful animals, those will be actually contributing to the economy and the life. It is it is the ground reality we have to understand. The impact. You don't have grazing field, you don't have paddy, no raw paddy, these things, you are not cultivating. Where you will be, and then whoever little bit educated and they are even preferring 5,000, 10,000 rupees job in a store, thinking that this is the white collar job, but they will not put their labor or interest in the gardening or in the cultivation, even though they have the ponds and lands, which will give him 50,000 rupees back, because that is prestigious. So we need to work out very carefully in the ground level to make this India transform and make this agriculture modernized and make a choice for these youngs that it can be a very good profession. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best, grand success of this conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for your remarks, for pointing out the ground realities faced by the people involved in agriculture, the rising migration and urbanization, and the encouragement for the youth to take up modern agriculture. And also thank you for sharing your personal experiences with us. Yes. I'm sure this conference and the deliberations will explore the availability of relatively new scientific developments across all the disciplines that could accelerate progress to meet the goals of the country. Before we proceed further for the vote of thanks, I would first request our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to please present mementos to our Excellencies. May I please request Ms. Ashera to come over? Sir, please present the memento to our Excellency Dr. Ichis Gupta. Thank you, sir. Heba Asha. Sir, may I please request you to present the memento to Padma Shri Dr. V.P. Singh. Heba. Remy, to please come over. Sir, I request you to please present the memento to Professor Akesh Khandal. Thank you so much, sir, for the constant encouragement throughout the session. Thank you. Gupta, sir. Thank you. Shreya, come. Now, I may please request all our Excellencies to stay there. And Gorg, sir, please present the memento to our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for being here with us today. Thank you so much. Mementos to other excellencies who have joined us via Zoom. It would be sent over to them. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. The memory of these mementos may slip into oblivion, but a word of appreciation and words of gratitude etch its presence in our minds. With this note, I now invite the organizing secretary of the conference, Professor Salim Siddiqui, to please propose vote of thanks. Please, sir.
Vice Chancellor, sir. Sir, since you are also Vice Chancellor, sir, Khara sir, since you are also the chairperson of this session, may I take your permission to shorten vote of thanks? Please. Thank you. Honorable persons on the dais, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed a matter of immense gratification and honor to have with us you all for inaugurating the International Conference on Advances in Agricultural and Food Sciences to face the challenges to environment and biosecurity. So it's my pleasure and privilege to convey on behalf of the organizing committee and on my personal behalf our grateful thanks to the Honorable Chief Guest, Padma Bhushan Professor R.B. Singh Ji. We are grateful to you, sir, for agreeing to address this gathering during the inaugural function and for your compliments. We are also profited from the speech of our guests of honors, various guests of honors. We are indeed grateful to you all, sir. We have been enlightened by your talks. My special thanks are to Honorable Chancellor Shri P. K. Gupta Ji and Pro-Chancellor Shri Y. K. Gupta Ji for their visionary outlook, leadership, for creating an excellent infrastructure and academic environment in the university for us. We are really thankful to you, sir. Thanks are also due to the Vice Chancellor of the university, chairperson of today's function, Dr. Ram Khara Ji, for his constant guidance and encouragement. A special mention to our respected Dean, Professor H.S. Gaur, for being the catalyst that stimulated us to do our best and standing as pillars of strength. Thank you, Dr. Gaur. We are deeply indebted to the management of our collaborative partners, Harry Butler Institute, Murdoch University, Western Australia, Dhanuka Agritech Private Limited, India, National Institute of Disaster Management, India, Institutions Innovative Cell and Ministry of HRD for lending their support in this conference. I wish to convey my most indebted thanks to the management of these companies and organizations. We are indebted to all those international institutes and universities which are responding favorably to our invitation and have showed active participation. I am sure that due to their contributions in their specialized areas, the deliberations of this international conference will be interesting and profitable. On behalf of the organizing committee and on my own behalf, I wish to convey our gratitude to this galaxy of overseas and Indian delegates. I wish to avail this opportunity to thank the members of the steering committee, International Advisory Committee, Organizing Committee, various coordinators, and my fellow colleagues for their assistance and support for organizing this conference. I'm really highly indebted to you all. Thanks are also to the technical team of the university for streaming this program live. Yeah. I wish to express our gratitude once again to each one of you for gracing this inaugural function with your presence and giving us the pleasure of your company. Thank you and Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Before we close the session, I welcome our team of students for National Anthem. Besides, may I please request you all to stand up and join them.
पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे भारत माता की जय
Thank you, everyone. Please proceed for tea. Thank you.
सर आपका आशीर्वाद है मैंने कुछ नहीं लगवाई देखिए इतने बड़े बड़े लोग हैं सर ऊपर वाले के नीचे कुछ ऊपर वाले रखे हैं भगवान के लिए ना चलो एक ग्रुप फोटो लेके आगे सबको बुला के कुछ ही लोग हैं मैडम सबको बुला लीजिए सब लोग आ जाए ग्रुप फोटो
Everyone, please join us on the stage for a group photograph, please.
यहाँ खड़े हो जाएंगे वो आगे खड़े हो जाएंगे चलो आओ मैडम आप भी आओ जल्दी आओ
Everyone, please come. Anjali.
In the age we live, knowledge is power, and education is the training to acquire and wield it. At Sharda University, education is celebration, an exuberant everyday rejoicing of life and discovery. With 63 acres of campus, the largest within the Knowledge Park in the National Capital Region, Sharda University does indeed mount itself on a global scale. Besides 10 schools offering a wide choice of multidisciplinary educational programs, Sharda University is also home to a world-class multi-speciality hospital and research facility, conceptualized and set up by a stellar team of the most reputed doctors and experienced hospital administrators. Sharda Hospital is the pride of the Knowledge Park. This 1,000-bed hospital is reputed for the yeoman service it renders to the community and the unique mobile clinics program by which it reaches medical care to remote villages. For students opting for the medical disciplines, Sharda Hospital offers the opportunity of a medical and nursing college within a most modern hospital. Sharda University has something unique to offer to every student. Law or business, communications or architecture, languages or the arts, engineering or the medical sciences. At Sharda University, they are all designed and delivered to make the student future ready. The campus houses 10 schools with their own state-of-the-art laboratories and libraries. The classrooms present the most advanced features in design, comfort and technology. The fully Wi-Fi campus has a vibrant, connected anytime, anywhere environment, buzzing with life and activity. One of the best teacher-student ratios, technologically advanced classrooms, courses designed specifically with industry experts, and above all, the teaching methodology. It all makes the process of learning at Sharda University an unforgettable experience. For the 8,000 students hailing from 46 nations, Sharda is the truly global campus which allows them to experience education beyond boundaries.
180 Nigerian students who finished their programs and left for home. And just before leaving, there are 4 or 5 who came and touched my feet in the Indian greetings. They said this is what they learnt in this country, that they must respect the people who have given them knowledge.
The whole idea is to go to Sharda is to amalgate, the faculty and the students from all over the world. And I think we are quite successful in that way, because that's the only university in the country which has 27% international students, and in just a span of 7 years.
The School of Engineering and Technology has emerged as a globally renowned center of excellence. Host to hundreds of international students, the center is a confluence of program design and academic excellence. The school has the largest number of international faculty members across Indian universities. For its diverse curricula, with the right blend of cutting-edge technology, Sharda University is a pool campus placement center for various MNCs. Even beyond the classrooms, Sharda University pulsates with a truly international verve.
Sharda is all about new beginning and experience.
A place to study and for the masti. Discovering who you are.
Sharda University delivers yet again on its global promise. With more than 80 tie-ups with foreign universities in student exchange programs, it is also a nodal center for the Indian Air Force for fast-track selection of engineers in North India. At Sharda University, the drive to learn balances itself with the passion to discover, to create, and to celebrate. The calendar ensures such an abundance of music, dance, art, and festivities that there is always a state of infectious euphoria in the campus. The Sharda University campus is dotted with playgrounds, cafeterias, gymnasiums, and similar hangouts. As the classrooms wind up, the residential and recreational spaces teem with the international crowd of students. The sportsperson inside you need not be on sleep mode. You may choose to join the game or even choose to play spectator. Sharda University stands tall on the values of global outlook, ethical conduct, leadership skills, collaboration and inclusiveness. Sharda University is founded on a promise, the promise of delivering